for an explanation of what was meant by the letter sent to the Boundaries Committee by the clerk to the Houses of Parliament, because he's saying that you can't hurry up the work of this committee. This committee has a long time within which to deliberate over these matters. If you are setting a timeline for them to fit into the government's timeline, that is not on. And at this stage, KC Hilton wants clarity on the matters, and I'm certain that if the government holds to its line, then this matter shall end up in court once again. So watch this space for those developments. This has been Lead Story for this Thursday. I hope you enjoyed it.
From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at Noon for Friday, April 11, 2025. I'm Courtney Lewis. Thank you so much for joining us. Organizers and promoters of Carnival events are being warned by Mayor Andrew Swaby to apply for their amusement licenses as the period ends today, April 11. This comes after a meeting with the Carnival Secretariat on the way forward for this year's festive activities. Adrian Williams chips down the road of warnings.
As Jamaica draws closer to the Carnival week of activities, culminating with a road march on Carnival Sunday this year on April 27, Mayor of Kingston Andrew Swaby is urging all party promoters of Carnival events, including watch parties, to ensure they apply and get approval for their amusement license.
We remind that all watch party and soca party promoters that they must apply for their amusement license by April 11th, 2025, and provide the necessary requirements, including insurance and fire certificates, site layout, the KSA Health Department no objection letter if food is being served.
After concerns last year re waste disposal, the mayor implores the promoters to have the requisite plans in place to avoid this challenge.
Additionally, proper arrangement must be in place for waste disposal as they run the risk of their permit not being approved.
With the application period ending soon, only 3 Carnival bands have applied for their permit.
The KSAMC received all band routes and all amusement license application from Exodus, Yardmas, and Gen X Band. These applications are currently under review by the City Engineer Officer, Disaster Management Unit, and the Revenue Team to ensure compliance.
Juve promoters are also expected to ensure that water trucks are engaged to wash away paint from the public thoroughfare as the parade progresses. Adrian Williams reporting for CVM News.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton met with the Ministry of Health and Family Affairs in India to discuss plans for improving Jamaica's local healthcare system. The focus was on training for human resources within the sector.
Very important around human resource development and the collaboration around training, both training our healthcare workers in specialized areas or nurses in particular. We use a lot to other markets and we're trying to expand, but we're short on faculty and clinical rotation space. It would mean health workers coming here to do clinical rotation and also training of trainers. And then finally, would also mean where we have immediate gaps, accessing from rotation of workers here in India, Indian health workers, taking up some of the position on a temporary basis while we expand our own local people to fill those posts. So
the meeting also sought to complete a memorandum of understanding for both countries to collaborate on better availability of medication in the island.
The MOU will see a number of issues around health that we will collaborate on, including drugs and access to drugs. India, of course, is the largest supplier of pharmaceuticals to Jamaica, certainly within the NH.
A multi-million-dollar project is underway to re-wet the Great Morass in Negril. The site has been a source of discontent for residents and hoteliers, as it's often the source of fires and air pollution. Water Minister Matthew Samuda says plans to address the concerns are advancing.
Another issue that I expected to have been raised already, but perhaps you are a little surprised by the May start date for the pipeline, so maybe you didn't raise it yet, was re-wetting of the wetland, which is a critical component of stability of the Negril space. We have completed the PIAB work that allows for that capital investment as per the UNEP designs. What was always misunderstood with the UNEP project was that the funding was not sufficient for the works. It was sufficient for the design phase, for all the studies that had to go in, and for the pre-development phase. Now, this PIAB process is nearing completion. We expect by the time we speak in May to be able to give you direct timelines in terms of when both the observatory will be able to be built, when the docks for the boats at the foot of the river that will facilitate tours, and when the canals will be dealt with for the re-wetting plans. So that's on track. We expect to be able to give very direct timelines by the time we speak.
Hoteliers are satisfied with the announcement from the Water Minister, noting the project will help reduce environmental hazards and pollution.
So I was very pleased to hear that the IWECO project is continuing, because we were fearful that it had ended and nothing had happened in terms of the re-wetting of the morass in Negril. And so we were very pleased. He gave us an update that the funding is being procured through the government system, the PIAB system, and so, and that the project will continue, where they will re-wet the morass, they will adjust the canals, and they will build the observation area, and also continue the project, because it is very important. The re-wetting of the morass will help the ecosystem that we live on, and also it will prevent the fires that we have every year from occurring. And so that is very important for us.
The National Water Commission, NWC, has pushed back against growing public concern, firmly denying claims that E. coli has been detected in the water supply. Speaking on CVM's lead story, Acting Corporate Public Relations Manager at the NWC, Delana Williams, clarified that recent tests showed only a small presence of the coliform bacteria.
No, you wouldn't be accurate. Again, let's go. And I'm happy you went there in terms of the reading. So the first thing I want to mention, and this needs to be very clear, the readings on the reports that are presented are not reflecting E. coli. They represent something called total coliform, which is a wide group of naturally occurring bacteria coming from soil, vegetation, and in some instances, animal waste. So this could be animal droppings, anything from the gut, right? Now, whenever we get a reading, George, the first thing that we do is we take a second test to look for fecal coliform or E. coli, which is what causes E. coli, all right? Now, those readings that are presented are not fecal readings, they are readings showing total coliform. A separate test is done for that. What the Ministry of Health has confirmed is that there is a small sample, not acceptable, but a small sample of approximately 2%, which is by our readings, which test for fecal. Now, what we do immediately is that is still testing. So now the fact that a student is late doesn't mean the student is failing an exam. The fact that I show you a failed result, as I explained to you, doesn't mean it's getting into the water.
And with that, we take a break. Our discussion segment is next.
Pedestrians, don't assume vehicles will stop. Always be aware of your surroundings. Remember, always use a sidewalk and pedestrian crossing where available. Safety is a two-way street, so look out before you step out. A message from the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport.
We love our country. Like you, we take pride in building Jamaica. The resilience of our people is cemented in our products, built to last for generations. Laying the foundation for thriving communities, we're committed to excellence and quality. Quality products, quality relationships. We're all proud Jamaicans, working hard, doing good, building a sustainable future for all. That same unbeatable spirit runs through us. We are made of Jamaica.
Hey you know all the people in your business?
You should take advantage of CVM TV's unbeatable small business advertising package. Trust me.
And get your goods and services in front of your customers today.
For $150,000, you get a high-quality professional commercial.
Plus 20 prime-time commercial spots.
That's massive exposure at a fraction of the cost.
Including on the #1 morning show in Jamaica, Sunrise.
So don't wait. Call us on 658-208-5377 and see your business goals happen right here on CVM Television.
In a world where innovation meets tradition, agriculture is evolving like never before. From the latest sustainable farming technologies to age-old practices passed down through generation, agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
Thanks so much for staying with us. It's time now for a discussion segment. China has announced it will raise tariffs on U.S. goods to 125%, marking its third retaliation in an escalating trade war with the United States. The move comes after the Trump administration increased tariffs on Chinese imports to at least 145%, deepening global economic uncertainty and raising questions about how this could affect smaller economies like Jamaica. Now, to help us unpack what this all means for us here at home, we're joined in studio by international trade specialist Dania Ashpole. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Courtney.
So, Minister Aubin Hill recently, said Jamaica wouldn't feel the immediate impacts of this ongoing trade situation, but could there be, from your perspective, could there be any future indirect effects if tensions rise, particularly for Jamaicans who get their supplies through the U.S.?
Certainly. So what you will have, uncertainty is the enemy of free trade. And so what you will have are importers in the United States, because we get a lot of our inputs from the United States, and also because of the minimum order quantity that is required for some businesses, what you have happening is a U.S. company may be importing inputs from China and then further exporting it to Jamaican importers in smaller quantities. Now, those businesses, particularly retail businesses and those who use it for inputs into manufacturing processes, may feel the impact of that, of those measures.
Are there any potential challenges that we should be particularly mindful of?
So the one I'm watching very closely is the renewal of the Caribbean Basin Initiative. Under that preferential trade agreement, Jamaican goods enter, in large part, the United States duty-free. Now, the CBI operates because there is a waiver from the WTO because it's non-reciprocal. And if we listen to President Trump, he's targeting reciprocity. And that is due for renewal in September of this year. Now, with this America First posture, what you may see is that priority may not be placed on the renewal of the CBI.
Right.
And so that is something that I'm watching certainly very closely.
Right.
And also the impact of the inputs coming into our manufacturers who use those inputs to make further make their exported goods to export.
So we're taking a quick break. Stay with us. We'll come back with our discussion segment in a moment.
The Time is brought to you by Ford Territory.
We're still in our discussion segment and we're talking about US-China trade war, and we're discussing this with Ms. Dania Ashpool, International Trade Specialist. Now, there are concerns that this battle could affect small local businesses, particularly those that import goods or equipment for resale or production. What are your thoughts?
So, the way I see it, the measures are not directly targeted as Jamaica. However, what we can look at is when the giants fight, let's find a way to find the opportunities. There are opportunities for consolidated shipments. So something to note is that containers that enter into a U.S. bonded warehouse, well, under normal trade rules, we understand we're not operating in normal trade rules. They don't, if they go into a bonded warehouse, so there's a big container, it's offloaded in a bonded warehouse in the United States, that is not normally subjected to the tariffs, and then it is transshipped to Jamaica. So there's an opportunity for consolidated shipments so that it's not passing through the customs territory of the United States. So that's an opportunity. Another opportunity is looking at strengthening regional trade and looking at markets, also looking at the inputs that we can get from regional markets that now may become more attractive with 145 effective tariff on Chinese goods. You may find that it becomes cheaper for you to source items regionally or within the wider Latin American Caribbean space. So it's really about changing that mindset and looking at other supply chains that we can rely on, because the uncertainty is no doing of ours, but we do have to find ways around it too, so that businesses can continue.
So what are some of the economic indicators that we need to be looking at, especially with the possibility of a little bit of pressure on the exchange rate and the possibility of inflation?
Well, you said it, inflation. What you will have, and I think the implications are broader. What can happen, inflationary moves in the United States does affect us. It affects remittances, which is a major source of foreign exchange for Jamaica. It does affect the tourism industry. If there is less amount of money for American